This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. Tension was felt in the Canadian Parliament this week after an Indigenous member used profanity during questioning. As Dan Karpenchuk reports, it was sparked by the controversial issue of a pipeline expansion in Western Canada.
The Trans Mountain Pipeline has yet to be built. It has divided the province of British Columbia and also caused friction between provinces. And recently, a Canadian appeals court quashed the approval for the project, saying there was not enough consultation with Indigenous communities, and the government failed to assess the environmental impact of additional oil tanker traffic on the BC coast. But Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the project will go ahead after a review of tanker traffic because it's in the national interest. Indigenous Member of Parliament for the New Democratic Party, Romeo Saganash, accused the government of violating its constitutional duties and obligations to Native people.
When the Prime Minister insists that this pipeline expansion will be done no matter what, and his minister adds that Canada will not be able to accommodate all Indigenous concerns, what that means is that they have decided to willfully violate their constitutional duties and obligations. Mr. Speaker, sounds like a most important relationship, doesn't it? Why doesn't the Prime Minister just say the truth and tell Indigenous peoples that he doesn't give a about their rights?
The Speaker told Saganash that his language was unparliamentary and should be withdrawn, which Saganash did. The government has yet to say how it will re-engage with Indigenous communities about the pipeline expansion. For National Native News, I'm Dan Karpenchuk.
The U.S. House passed a spending package Wednesday to avoid a government shutdown October 1st. The bill also extends legislation that funds programs to help victims of sexual assault and domestic violence for 6 more months. From KJZZ's Fronteras Desk, Laura Morales reports.
The extension gives Violence Against Women Act programs some relief, but it does not include some new key provisions tribal leaders would like to see. Alfred Urbina is the Attorney General for the Pascua Yaqui tribe in southern Arizona. He says the law gives American Indian tribes jurisdiction to prosecute non-Native offenders to protect women, but no other family members.
The majority of our cases, there have been children involved, children in the home, children at the scene of these crimes, children who have been victims of crime committed by this non-Indian, and we were not able to protect the children in these cases.
The spending package extends current Violence Against Women Act funding until December 7th. For National Native News, I'm Laurel Morales.
The Lincoln Journal-Star reports 2 Nebraska state lawmakers plan to introduce a bill to step up investigating missing Native women and violence against them. Senators Tom Brewer and Patty Pansing plan to mirror the bill after one which passed in Washington state. The bill would require law enforcement to join tribes and state and federal agencies to examine issues and seek solutions. The Senate Committee on Indian Affairs Wednesday examined Native youth in the justice system. The committee heard from tribal and federal witnesses about challenges facing Native youth. A federal report found risk factors for Native youth include high rates of poverty and substance abuse, which make them susceptible to being in justice systems at the federal, state, local, and tribal level. The research shows between 2010 to 2016, arrests for Native American youth at the state and local level declined, yet the number of Native youth in the federal system far exceeds other young people. Lawmakers and tribes are looking at how federal grant programs can help address delinquency. Senators on the committee say much work needs to be done and are seeking ways to help through legislation, including in the Tribal Law and Order Act. The committee also heard how a California tribal court is using traditional values and teaching in its justice system for the betterment of the community. I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced at the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios by Kawanak Broadcast Corporation. Funding is by Odawi Law Group, provider of Indian law solutions, and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, with support from the Public Radio Satellite System.
Supported by Volunteers of America, a premier substance use treatment provider offering a White Bison certified well-briety program within their residential Native American treatment services, applications, and more at voanr.org.
And by the law offices of Sonosky, Chambers, Saxe, Miller, and Monkman, a national tribal rights law firm with offices in Washington, D.C., New Mexico, California, and Alaska, and online at sonosky.com.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.